start it.
Oh, we just going to start.
Hello, everyone. This is the Rough Craft, the show dedicated to creating new stories while enjoying a nice, tasty beer. And today we're going to be playing a game of Take Your Shot with our special guests, Emily and Logan. Emily is Matt's wife, and Logan is a longtime friend and guest of the
Okay.
Rough Craft. So we're going to be playing a game of Take Your Shot. Anything you guys say, Matt?
Yeah, I just want to welcome everyone to come to watch us play Take Your Shot. Let me turn my phone down. But we got a special guest tonight. It's her first appearance. It's my wife, Emily.
I guess I rushed into that a little bit.
Yeah, she is gonna try this writing challenge. She is a very good writer in her own right, and though she doesn't want to admit it or me to say it, but the concept she comes up with is very good, and I hope that she continues to do it and make the time to write it. And then we got Logan, who is a good friend of mine, good friend of the show, and his Misfit story is very good,
So is
and
it
I can't wait.
Another story of his?
Yeah, it's book 24.
Book 24.
and it's very good.
Jesus Christ, Logan.
It's not book 24. He just says that.
Oh, it's 28. Matt, get your facts straight.
And thank
Emily-
you for the introduction.
Yes, yeah. My wife, I'm very proud of her. Her story and her concepts are very good, better than mine. So
No. I
it's just-
cannot come
she's
even.
not a better writer than I am, and I'm going to prove it tonight on tonight's Take Your Shot.
We're getting competitive up in here.
Yes, I'm going to beat Logan tonight, and I'm going to beat you tonight.
Not gonna beat me though. Not gonna beat me though.
You're just discounting Tom altogether.
So, hey man, it's fine. I'm already number one. He doesn't have to even put me in the equation. So, if this is your first time watching Take Your Shot, what we do is we each will take turns with 5 minutes to write a short story based on a random prompt that we'll generate here in a few minutes. Before you take your shot at writing a story, you take your shot at you take an actual shot, and then you take a shot, and then once we're all finished with our turns, we'll then come back and take turns reading our short stories, and we'll all criticize each other for how bad or good they are.
Heavily.
What's actually funny is this. You ever seen Kill Tony, Matt?
Yes.
This actually
yes.
reminds me of like a writing version of Kill Tony in a sense.
That's a good way to put it, and I like the way you put that.
Like
Kill
the way we do it is more. It's like, say you got 5 minutes to come up with a minute of material, and then do your material. So it's kind of more on the back end than Kill Tony is, but it's still a very similar process. I like how we basically roast each other at the end of it. So good fun.
Yeah, it's all in good fun. We're not criticizing people's ability to write. We're not saying you shouldn't be a writer or anything like that. We're just, hey, you came up with a shit story in 5 minutes after taking a shot of alcohol. You suck. But in reality, we just mean thanks for joining. Thanks for coming.
So
Thanks for writing with us.
Without further ado, unless anybody has anything else they'd like to say, I'll go ahead and generate us a prompt.
Well, hold on. We kind of skipped over this. We kind of skimmed this in our Godzilla versus Kong review. But I would like to say that the Writers Accord actually has a traditional published author in the group. And if you haven't joined the Writers Accord and you would like to, please message either me or Logan on Twitter.
I was so worried you was going to say me.
No, not you. You
Yeah,
don't even
don't
do
do
anything with that group.
Don't
So,
do that.
if you would like to join and hear the feedback that our group provides, then please either message me or Logan on Twitter. My Twitter is Mr. Clark
Battery
Nomad
low.
on Twitter. And Logan, what is your Twitter?
I'm pretty sure it's
Charging
at Logan
battery.
Westerland.
All right, and there we go.
And
at
we
Logan
can.
Westerland.
WESTERLIND.
Trying to think. We could put those in the comments. See if it'll let me.
Yeah, we can put that in the description.
I'll just
so-
put it in the comments. It'd be easier to do that right now. It's too clunky right now. We'll add that in later.
Yeah, but
Yeah. And also something we said at the end of last stream. what we plan on doing is hopefully every Saturday we'll try to pick a predetermined time for every week. But would like to every Saturday. This is going to pretty much be the show. We'll just do some fun stream every Saturday, and just kind of it'll be that for a while until after I'm ready to come back after the baby's born. But we'll try to keep things going at least every Saturday, coming up with some sort of a show. Maybe various times, but hopefully every Saturday at least one show.
Yeah, whether that be movie reviews or book reviews. How far you got into Kings of the Wild?
Dude, I'm still 3 chapters in. All right.
All right. Well,
you can be sad, you can be disappointed, but hey, 3 chapters is a lot more than I was like a month ago.
in my book. So-
No. Actually, it's not. I got like 5 or 6 chapters into your book.
Okay. Well, it's totally different now. Anyway,
I read it like 4 times, and
So-
now it's completely different. It makes me so depressed.
Some of us like to go out to their job and then work until like 9 or 10 o'clock and come home and cook food and then eat dinner and then go to bed. They don't have time to read, Matt, as much as they'd like to. And then on their days off, they're doing this all day.
you know what I do after a 10-hour workday?
Just wait until you have a kid.
What do you
Then you
do,
get to
Matt?
be doing that.
See, thanks.
I,
Emily gets it.
I beta read for the Writers Accord group, and then I have an hour of writing, and then I have an hour of relaxed time.
What time you get off of work, Matt?
5.
Boy, if I got off at 5, I could do some more stuff. I would just play video games, but I would have
What
less
time do you go into work?
Me, I go in at 10. Well, I leave the house around like 9. Yeah, 9. I get to work at 10.
Okay.
Yeah. We're at work at 6.
Yeah. So here's today's random prompt that we're going to generate. Main character is going to be a woman in her late 30s who is very eccentric. Secondary character is going to be a woman in her late 40s who is very manipulative. The setting is going to be the story begins in an abandoned warehouse. The situation is a reporter investigates police corruption. The theme is going to be a story about love, and the character action is going to be your character is not afraid to get involved. I like this one a lot. This seems very different than some of the ones we've had before.
Yeah.
I'll copy
You wanna-
this, post it in the Discord real quick, and then I will go over it all once more.
Sounds good. It does sound like a fun concept.
That is the wrong.
That is not-
thing.
What's Chrono down?
Uh,
Yeah, no, this-
That's for the.
What is as
That's for the timer that we
what is
have.
text files?
There we go. So it's a woman in her late 30s who is very eccentric, a woman in her late 40s who is very manipulative. The story begins in an abandoned warehouse. A reporter investigates police corruption. It's a story about love. Your character is not afraid to get involved. So,
this is gonna be kind of tough.
the hardest part of this show is figuring out the order in which we will go in. I'll go ahead and just make things easier. Say me or Matt will go first and last. And so you guys just got to figure out the middle, and me and Matt will figure out who goes first and last. Matt, you're the better writer. You go first. God, that was easy.
All right, I'll go first.
I'll go.
Tom go last.
I
It's
can-
just who's
I can go
after
whenever.
me.
Emily,
I
Logan.
have no preference.
Logan ain't no
We all
bitch.
get 5
Take
minutes, right?
second.
Logan ain't no bitch, so he'll go first. He said, "Fuck Matt."
I didn't say that. I said I'll go second.
He said, all right, he said he goes second. All right. So me first, Logan second, Emily third, and Tom last.
Sounds good. I'll go ahead and pull the stopwatch up,
Okay.
and the timer is offset. Let me fix that real quick.
I'll keep my headphones on, but I will mute my mic.
All right. Just whenever you're ready. Looks like you're ready to take your shot. Let's go ahead and take your shot, and then we will start your timer. You got to keep your headphones in.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep my headphones in so I can hear. Yeah, I'm gonna keep my headphones in so I can hear when
Okay.
my
Sounds
time's up.
good. Whenever you give me a thumbs up, I'll start that timer for you.
Okay, I'm just rereading the prompt. Shit. This is gonna be tough, man. This is gonna be
This is going to be tough.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tough, man. All right.
If you're bad at writing, it'll be tough.
Oh,
and if you have to go first.
Shots fired.
I went ahead and started your timer. You're like, yeah, there you go. And the clock is a ticking. Matt's got 4 minutes and 54 seconds left. How's everybody doing this evening? Emily, Logan, how are y'all?
I'm acceptable.
Okay, so we just talk while he gets the 5 minutes.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then, okay, so I wasn't sure if we all started or what was going on. So we just get a little bit more time to think about it than he does.
Yeah, basically, it's very. That was why I was like joking about one of us going first and last, and then me throwing Matt under the bus, making him go first. It was a joke, but yeah, essentially, you get more time.
I thought you were just talking about first and last and reading. I didn't realize it was like first and last.
Whatever we.
But I mean, I guess that.
Whenever we read it, we'll just go through the same order, but yeah, everybody has their own individual 5 minutes. The show is kind of centered around like whenever we were trying to do the writer's craft, we would have somebody like Logan on where we're interviewing them. We would use this as a way to kind of ease into, doing something fun while also easing into like kind of interviewing them. Like we would spend this time talking to them and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, I think that makes sense. I mean, because you wouldn't want 5 minutes of dead air.
Speaking of which, not to ignore you, Logan, but Emily, I didn't know you really wrote or write much. So what exactly are you trying to work on? What kind of writing are you doing? I think Matt mentioned a comic book at one point in time.
Yeah, so I haven't really been like writing. I've been kind of coming up with an idea. That's an idea that I came up with years ago, probably like 7 years ago now. And I just kind of like mentioned it to Matt one day, and he was like, "Oh, well, why don't you pick that back up again?" And so I just kind of started writing down some of the ideas that I had for it. And the more that I thought about it, which I can get into a little bit more of the details, but the more I thought about it, it just kind of seemed like it was like a comic book type of story that would be almost like Monster of the Week kind of thing, and not something that has like this,
wouldn't fit into like a novel or something.
Yeah, and I mean it's possible that it could, but so basically like it starts out there's like this like woman wakes up in like the middle of like a forest, doesn't know where she is, and then she goes through basically all these trials that are modeled after the 7 deadly sins, and whether or not you pass or fail them like marks the body with like different types of like runes that kind of represent like that particular person's trial. And then when she gets out, basically the world has been overrun by demons and hell, and she is what's called an Nephilium, and she's been created by the angels along with a lot of the other Nephilium that she goes into training with. And there's like a little bit more about like how their powers, work based off of, everything's about a balance. So depending on whether you like however many tests you pass or fail, kind of basically means that you have more divine power or more like bestial power. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're a bad person if you failed more of the tests, because everybody has their own reasonings for why they sinned. But so it just kind of like gives a little bit of balance. So the main character in this perspective has very weak of like the bestial power, but very high divine power because she's only failed one of the tests. And most people fail about half and half. So it's just there's like basically like a cast of characters of like different peoples with different types of personalities who've passed and failed like different types of tests, and that kind of shapes the way that their fighting style and the way that their like bestial form looks and things like that. And it's a lot of the like hierarchy of the angels is based off of like Old Testament, even Judeo-Christian depictions of the angels, which are, if you've ever played Bayonetta, they look like straight up monsters.
I gotcha.
So.
Yeah, I've never have played Bayonetta, but I do like that you're dipping into Christian mythology. I'm sure you've heard. That's one of the things that I've messed with in one of my stories. So I think it's definitely neat. I think there's some stuff that deal with Christian mythology, but not a whole lot. So I think it's like a cool kind of like genre demographic, or I don't know if it's demographic, but a genre to kind of pull from, because I don't think a lot of people are, especially when you're dealing with fantasy or any type of mythology type things. And But yeah, like and the same thing with the one that I was working on. I think it would work best as well with a comic. So I think it's definitely neat to whenever you're messing with these things. Your time's up, by the way, Matt. I think it's definitely it's very fun to look at these different types of things you're looking at and get a good idea of like this might work better as this or that. And like I think that sounds like something that's going to be more visual, so it would be helpful and I guess better to get a lot of the points across to be able to have these cool character designs of these different creatures and stuff. So Matt.
Yeah,
Oh no, go ahead.
go ahead.
You go right ahead.
Yeah, that was kind of what my thinking was, especially when like trying to come up with like a overarching like plot that would span like a novel. It just I couldn't quite get it to fit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still, possible. I haven't really come up with a lot of plot yet. I've come up with a lot of background and, world building, stuff like that, but nothing that I could really put to paper yet to start like building a story off of.
Yeah,
And
I feel like something like with comics, it allows you to kind of like break things up apart and have different arcs and stories and stuff that could eventually build to one big plot. Whereas a story, you may not have enough. Even though books are long, you may not have enough time to get through all the intricate details you may want to.
Speaking of intricate details, I didn't get shit done
Good.
with mine. So, Logan, you're next. You're next, my boy.
Hello?
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
All right.
Are we timering?
You just let me know whenever you're good to go, and I'll start that timer for you.
Let me take this shot of water. I'm gonna try to down this entire. Let's see. This is 1 quart. 1 quart of water.
Oh, okay.
Hold on.
I thought he said water, then I'm like, then he said like this whole thing. And I'm like, is he about to fucking down a pint of liquor?
lot braver than me, sir. He's shaking a bottle. He's shaking a bottle around.
Alright, I'm ready.
I don't feel like that wasn't a bottle of water. The timer has started.
I'm so hydrated.
Go ahead, boy. All right.
Well, Matt,
so
let me ask you, since Emily just kind of gave us a little bit of a overview of what she's working on.
Okay.
Well, I was wanting to ask you, what all do you know about Emily's stuff, and also what's going on with your story right now? Because it sounds like
Emily's stuff is way more exciting than mine is because she has kind of an end of the world scenario where if her characters don't succeed, then the world ends. But my world is more like it's 2 factions warring. Where the rewrite is for Shattering Fall of the Nomads.
Didn't you change the name?
I did change the name. The name is now Blood and Bone,
which I like more than the Shattering. And it's not that I hated the Shattering; it's just that's what one of the WoW novels was called, so it always kind of stuck out to me.
Yeah, that's why I didn't really that's why I wasn't really attached to the name.
Yeah,
because
I'm sure something's been called Blood and Bone before, but
yeah,
that doesn't stand out to me as much. I mean, it stands out, but not as I don't picture something else when I hear it.
Yeah, so Blood and Bone revolves. It's kind of the same concept as Shattering, but the story's kind of different. Like the Nomads are not just like a police force; they're now a group, and then Prophet is not part of the Nomads anymore. He's a leader of his own group. So like it's all broken up into tribes, basically humans. So Prophet and his cult are pure humans. They don't do anything with the mutations, which is dogs and cats who mutate into like werewolves and werecats. But the nomads do. So there's 2 big tribes warring in North Carolina, or what's left of North Carolina. And Austin is the main character is just a scavenger. He doesn't have a group he's affiliated with. It's a lot different, and I hope to share a little bit more as the rewrite goes along. Right now, I'm in chapter 10 out of 24 chapters.
Jeez, yeah. See, that's kind of my worry and fear with trying to write something, because like I know I'm constantly changing things. Like I've been, just brainstorming the same story for the past 6 years, and I'm constantly changing stuff. I change. It's already like a huge mountain to climb to write a story in the first place, but then to think about writing it and then thinking you have to rewrite it and you're probably going to change a lot of stuff, and it's kind of good and bad, because that's my fear, is to write a story, then I have to go through and change a lot of stuff, but that's part of the process. Like you will want to change stuff, and you can go back and do that. So I just wish
Yeah,
I could be
it's like-
Stephen King and write the fucking whatever that fucking hotel movie was in one night.
The Shining.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm kind of between a rock and a hard place, because Emily really likes the old story that I had, which was The Shattering, but the Writers Accord really likes the new story and the path that it's going. So I struggle with that. Uh, just last night I was struggling. It was like, should I continue the story? Should I abandon the story? Should I just skip right to the high fantasy part? Um, with Raveska, Damien, Thomas, and Levy.
What do you mean, like starting and like just saying fuck The Shattering or fuck Blood and Bones and start on Sword and Fang?
Yeah, pretty
Okay,
much.
so do you want me to give you a little bit of like my thoughts about like the my reasoning behind my thought process of not it's not necessarily that I
It's probably a
prefer
$2,500 thought process.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is like, what if you go through all this rewriting and stuff, and you change the story with a lot of like feedback from the Writers Accord and a lot of feedback from the editor you got, and then they're like,
How much time do I have?
you have 30 seconds left. But
Okay, I'm calling it.
okay. But say you go through all this whole process, and then like you rewrite it, and you have to send it to an editor again, and then they're like, it's still like you need to fix this part and this part and this part now, because it's like kind of a new story, and it's just never ending.
Right.
But I mean, I guess that's the process to write a good book, is this never ending process of just fine tuning it down.
So my thought process about the new rewrite versus the old version is that the new version just seems like a sequel, like it should be a sequel to what the first one laid out. And while the second one seems a lot grittier and it does have an improvement on some of the character development and writing style, which was the main critiques of the the editor
Yeah.
had for the first write. So, but to me, it kind of loses some of its charm and relatability, because the way that the first one was is kind of very normal people in a mostly normal setting with mostly normal people, and then in the rewrite you jump right into a bunch of crazy. And so the only thing is like that seems great, but if you're trying to like pull in, new readers and everything, it's like it just seems like there's a lot of information that was missed in the second rewrite,
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
I feel like
yeah, I
you're
agree.
building off of the first one, and the first one doesn't exist anymore. So to me, I think the second one would be better as a sequel.
And I feel like it's kind of like a fine path to kind of follow, is because like you want to, like at some points you want to like give a lot of information so they're curious about it, but you don't want to give too much that it's overwhelming. You're like, I have no idea what's going on here. So like it sounds like the first one might have eased you into it too slowly, and the second one is way too fast. I don't know. I haven't read the second one. I've only read the beginning of the first one. But.
Yeah, the second like in the I told
Which, real
is
quick,
Logan.
Emily, if you're ready, you're good to go whenever you're ready. Just let me know
All
and I'll
right,
start your timer.
Okay, let me get everything.
Are you taking a shot, Emily?
I have some beer. I can
Okay.
take a sip. Actually, I
Yeah,
can probably
she
finish
can't
it
really
off
take a
if-
shot.
Yeah. No, I didn't.
No.
I didn't know. I'm like, I didn't know where she was right now as far as that stuff goes.
All right. You can. I'm gonna go ahead and take my shot, and you can start the timer.
Timer is started right now.
Okay, so like Emily really enjoys the first rendition of the Shattering or Blood and Bone. But I talked with this with I said this with Logan last night. Me and him were kind of talking about what Blood and Bone was, and like I was afraid that I was missing out on a bunch of mutations. But and during the writing process, I'm trying to get down the plot, which is the bones of the story. I can add the beef later. So, but Emily really liked the original story. So Logan, what do you have any input, because you've kind of read both of my stories?
I think that the difference here is that there's a clearly defined process to how he's going to write this. For example, he mentioned the bones of the story. So if you've got the plot beats down, you know, what I hear most of the critique being is that the human element of it has been stripped away in some aspect, and most of that has to do with the cataclysm of the moon shattering.
Right.
But then your entire book so far is the consequences of that. So if all you're missing is that initial event, it's going to be okay to say, here's the common world. I've already written how it will be bent or twisted.
Mm-hmm.
So you're really just, what I see, and what I see as part of the critique, is that the initial common world, and here's the obvious starting place, this is relatable, now let's twist, now let's bend. You're doing all the twisting and the bending. You've written that other book already. So if you got to go back to that and say, all right, here's this human element, here's this cataclysmic event, and here's how I'm going to tie this into the consequences of this world. It's hard for me,
right,
to say, because I understand that you have a process to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a matter of executing it, but what I see in execution is working.
Okay.
What I see in execution is working better than anything you did in the previous book.
Okay.
In my opinion.
So like maybe she needs to read and see what's going on. I'm not saying like she just refuses to read any new stuff. She just hasn't had time. Like I brought her into the Writers Accord, and she hasn't been able to read because she just doesn't have time. Because
it's all good.
Yeah.
It's not. This isn't me harping on anybody else. This is me saying that I have read
Right.
what you have, and I have read a good amount of what was there previously, and now I see a process to what you call pantsing.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily pantsing if you have this, okay, here's the bones of this beast, here's the muscle of this beast, here's the skin of this beast, let's add some final details.
Yeah.
That's just my feelings on it. And in the end, you gotta write it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Will it work?
We'll find out. We'll find out, won't we?
Yeah. It is tough.
You'll eat a lot of peppers so somebody can tell you it didn't work.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
I think too, real quick, and this may come off sexist, but I think women, they look at stories a lot different than men do. So maybe like for someone like Emily, she may be looking more for that. Well, I don't know. Her critique wasn't even that it was that like it. She was saying they were more normal, which I like what she was saying because I agree. I like when things feel more realistic. And so I can't even really say it's like a sexist thing that she's more there for the, because I think people had said that there's more of an actual real personality given to a lot of characters now. So I don't know. I don't even know what I was getting at with that.
I think it's what.
But
what
real
she's-
quick, Emily, your time is up.
Okay, thank you.
I think she was looking at the $2,500 price tag.
Me? What are you talking about?
The editor and everything about how I joined this Discord group and they told me to rewrite my story after I've paid money for an editor to say, "Yeah, your story's good, but you need to add this."
Oh, so you're not editing. You're not just going through and kind of fixing the blemishes that the
No,
editor
no,
talked
no.
about.
He
You're,
completely just scrapped the old book.
oh yeah, no, I think that's dumb. I think that's I don't know. Logan's better with this sort of stuff than I am, but I'm gonna say that's that's a lot of work that you're throwing away. And like, yeah, at that point, yeah, just do a sequel to that story. Like, there's no reason to throw
It's
it
the
away.
same. It's the same story.
No,
just
it's
in
not.
a different method.
It is not the same story.
But I mean, like,
it's
what
not even
at the-
slightly different.
At the end of the day, it's whatever product you're most happiest with. But you've put a lot of time and work into this story, and if the editor, this person you paid $2,500 to, for the most part liked it and said there's only a few, it seemed like she really liked it, but she gave very specific details on what she thought should change. I would just, I mean, I personally would go along with that unless I had convictions that told me otherwise. I wouldn't let this, no offense to the writing Discord, that they're there for a purpose, but I think their purpose would have been before you send it to the editor. So like with the news story you're writing, yeah, you can use them for the news story, but once you send it to the editor, you're kind of like it's like the end of the hours, like trying to finish and get it cleaned up to get ready to publish, not trying to completely rewrite the story. That's the way I see it. But again, I haven't really read enough of either one of them, and Logan can probably give more. He can speak more on it than probably me or Emily can, because he may have read more of both of them than either of us has.
Well, Emily's read it 4 times. So, but the old story, the new story, I'm not sure. But that's not what this stream is about.
Yeah,
we kind of focus in on my stuff.
I'm just saying,
we can talk about my story more in the Writers Accord, which you can join if you message me or Logan on Twitter.
Which I will say real quick, because my thing
we
is
can shit on my stuff if you want.
Oh, trust me, your turn's coming up.
Yeah, I'm about to be quiet here in a second. But what I'm saying is like, fuck, I don't know what I'm saying. I lost my train of thought, so I'll go ahead and take my shot.
Are you taking a shot at Jameson?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Is that supposed to be worse than a regular whiskey?
Yeah, well, I have Kentucky Gentleman, so probably not.
I've been drinking Jameson. I won't say all day, but that's what I've been drinking. I got a little pint of Jameson today because I want to try that. I've been trying different whiskeys. I think I just don't like whiskey. I think that's what it comes down to. I need to reach out.
You could probably sipping it with ice is very good.
No.
If you're like reading or writing, sipping it with ice.
No, it still tastes like shit. It's just the feeling is good. I will agree. Getting a good little buzz and reading. My problem with reading in general is I have to stop so much because I start, like, the imagination starts flowing, and that slows me down a lot. And then whenever you're drinking, it's fucking way worse.
Yeah, that's why I just usually when I read or listen to something, it's usually when I'm at work.
So as I've said before, like, it may seem like I'm a guy that don't write anything, but like I have a fucking shitload of notes that I just haven't compiled together into a cohesive story.
Right. All right. Let me know when you're starting, Tom, and I will set a timer on my phone.
All right. There'll also be a timer on the stream for the stream to see, and I'll let you know when I hit this so you can hit yours.
1 second. Let me pull it up. I'll let you know when I pull it up. Stupid phone. There's gonna be like a 30-second worth of fucking silence. All right. 5 minutes. All right. Let me know when you hit it.
I can sing if you'd like.
Yes.
Damn it. You got me.
I think Tom's muted.
Time's
Okay,
muted,
there you go.
but I'm gonna let me know when to start.
You can start it now.
All right, I'm starting it now.
That was a bold sip.
Yeah, very
Huh.
bold. All right,
Um,
so Logan, let's talk about Misfits. So I've
Yes.
what
Let's
I had
duke on my things.
yes,
Let's do it.
we shit on my things for about 10 minutes. Let's shit on
It's
yours.
time to shit on me.
So I've read up till Dab's scene in
Yes.
part 2. Dab has actually been the favorite of the only surviving, not the I don't know if he's the only surviving god, but he's one of the surviving gods in your story. Is Dab the favorite?
So the idea was this: is that I guess I'll spill the beans. So I was basically just reading a bunch of mythology stuff, and I had this concept that was like, all right, so for instance, Zeus comes into like a queen's room as like a falcon, and the lady's just like, oh, that's a beautiful falcon. I'm gonna have sex with it. And I just thought that that was ridiculous. I was like, it's more likely that Zeus was like a rapist,
Yeah,
which is
pretty
horrible.
much. Yep.
But I was like, wait. So imagine that this mortal was like a serial rapist over thousands of years, and he's looking to create beings in his own image because that's what gods do.
Hmm.
And the reason that DeBario is this favorite at the time is because he looks the most like his father. And you don't know that that's his father. You don't know that the jester god is his dad until later. But yes, ideally he was a favorite. He looked the most like his dad. He just didn't develop a power, and
So
that
Dab,
was
Dab, you
yes.
when I was
Well, he does have a power, but
yeah, like when I was commenting on the story, you're like, well, Dab does have a power, and I think what my theory is before I continue reading, because I'm going to continue reading on Monday, is I think Dab has the power of entertainment. Is that
very
something?
good. It's charm.
Oh, okay. So he's like, what would you
So
call him?
so
Like
so
a
so knowing that
Leo
DeBario is
DiCaprio of your world?
yeah, kind of. So
That
so
kind of
and
mained him into having an Oscar.
right, and knowing that DeBario's power is charm, what would you imagine that Silver's power would be?
Silver?
Yeah,
Holy shit. Um, Silver just seems like his power is luck. Oh wait, no,
very
no, no,
good.
no,
Very
no.
good. Yes, her power is luck. That is exactly what it is. Very good. So, I mean, if I've got clues coming down the line that make sense and connect some dots,
So what would
that's
Grimes' power be? It's not luck for sure.
Grimes is the only one that isn't a son of Gelasius, the Jester God.
Really?
Yep.
So so I have a question about one of the chapters I read when Vale came in to get Grimes, and he told Dab that he wasn't important. Has that changed now, or is there something more there? Is
No, he told DeBario he wasn't important because that would screw with DeBario.
I like that. I fucking love that,
Saying
dude. I fucking
saying
love that.
no to his charm is like an insult of the highest order, I guess.
Well, it also proves that he's immune to his power, wouldn't you
Yes.
say?
Hey, is my time up, Matt?
No, you got 30
Okay,
seconds left.
okay. I just never started my timer. Be right back.
But yeah, that I fucking love that because I thought Grimes was more of uh what was his name? Julius's?
Gelasius.
Gelestius. Yeah. I always thought Grimes was one of his tougher sons, but I remember that was Hunchy. And Hunchy was his more like mountain-esque type son.
Yes.
Brutal and physical. But Grimes, I never really thought about it. Grimes doesn't really fit in. So,
Nope.
and that why Grimes is the one? Me and you have talked about this. And all right, well, hold on 1 second. Tom, your time is up. Tom, your time is up.
All right. So yeah, apparently I forgot to set the timer on the stream, but we're all here. We're all having a good time. Story got finished.
I know.
But yeah, that's why. Is that why Grimes makes a perfect opponent to death in your story?
The hope is that as the story goes on, you realize that Grimes is the one that's there.
Grimes is kind of the outcast. He's out of the bloodline, from what I understand. He's not a part of the family.
Not at first, it's not gonna seem that way, and as time goes on, you're gonna realize that Grimes is the one seeking family. He is the one who wants to have a family. He's the one who's had these things taken away. So when you mentioned specifically in one chapter that, I wish we had spent more time with this family that kind of adopted him, you hit the nail on the head, because that part's got to hit hard. That
Yes.
family element has to hit hard, because then you realize, hey, this man he just wants to have people around him that he cares about, that care about him. And
Right.
they all seek that to some degree, but Grimes ends up being the glue that brings that together. He is the Iron Mask.
Because he's the one who wants it. He's the one who wants it
Yes.
most.
Yes.
And
Yep.
that's why I think you should have a chapter with him and Grit and Clara. Was that her name?
Celia.
Yeah. I think that's why you should have that chapter between there, to have that bond, to have that character want that family.
So
Because I think that would.
I'm writing a sequence into that same chapter. It's just a page break where all they're doing is sitting down and having dinner. And what I'm writing currently is they're in hell. They've met death, and now they're sitting at this banquet table, and Grimes is going, "Oh wait, this is what I wanted. I'm sitting down, I'm having dinner with my family, and we're all a bunch of outcasts, but we care about each other." So that's the key. I think
I think you should have that scene in between Grimes and Dabs. Scenes in part 2 where Grimes is sitting down with Clarissa and Grit and the mother, just having a family dinner, talking about their life experiences, and him just fucking loving it. And then when you go down to the death scene where they're in hell, like him just having that with the Veil, with Ada, with the Hunchy, and everybody in that group. He's having that same kind of feeling, that same kind of experience in hell with death.
Yep.
And that him just, that I think that would make Grimes' scene 100% spaghetti and meatball.
Yep.
Spaghetti and the meatballs.
When you had said that, I think you hit the nail on the head.
So, I think you have a fucking great story going on there, man, and I can't wait to see you finish it. And I can't wait to see the final version, because I will travel to Florida and buy it, and I'm gonna make you sign it. So,
speaking of finishing stories, I don't know about you guys, but I know Matt couldn't finish his, and neither could I. I missed a part, and I had to rush to the end as it was. So let's go ahead and start taking our turns to tell our stories finished or not.
All right,
man. Now let's before we go through this, let me go ahead and go over the prompt again. It's main character is a woman in her late 30s who was very eccentric. Secondary character is a woman in her late 30s who was very important. The story begins in an abandoned warehouse, a woman in her late 40s who was very manipulative. The story begins in an abandoned warehouse. A reporter investigates police corruption. It's a story about love. Your character is not afraid to get involved. And real quick, what's eccentric mean? That's like always a word that I've always heard, but I've never really known exactly. I feel like I know what eccentric means. I could describe.
It's strange. It's acting or behaving in a way that isn't normal.
Okay.
That's it.
Like I feel like I could use it in a sentence. I could point somebody out that's eccentric, but I could never really put it into words.
Everybody has an eccentric friend. He probably makes like squeal noises. I'm that guy.
That's none of our friends. Me, Devin, and Tommy just go, We're the fucking King of the Hill people.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. All right, Matt. So whenever you're ready, take us away with your beautiful story.
All right. I'm going to go first. Angie was excited to start her first day as a reporter. Her first report was to report the grave murder in the Ace Pharmaceutical District. Tony, her cameraman, struggled with the wires of her satellite cables as they prepared to rush inside the warehouse. The warehouse, the warehouse was the scene of a brutal murder. A detective blocked their path. She was tall and built like a wall. She held up a hand, stopping the pair from entering the warehouse. "What are you doing here? This is city business." Angel replied with, "We're with ETC TV. What happened here?" And that's all I got.
One of my favorite things, and Emily, if this is your first time playing this, you might notice it, is that I always feel like there's no way these stories can be any different, but they always are vastly different.
Yeah, I'm seeing that. I'm like, man, I was like, this just kind of lays it out. I was like, there's not really much room for flexibility, and yep, here we go.
It's always different. Matt, I would like to note that your first, I love how you kept talking about reporters reporting things on their report, like the first two sentences.
Yeah. I couldn't think of a different term other than report.
And that's, I think that goes into the exercise of this, is you don't have the time to think of those words. So if you already have it stocked, you got them. But if you don't, you just got to kind of power through.
Yeah, if I have a different words for report blocked in my brain to come out like Mechagodzilla's explosions.
The worst part.
Whatever.
The worst part when you're doing this is when you have to backspace something because it sounds like shit, and you're like, let me fix that, and then at the end everything sounds like shit because you ran out of time.
You know what shit, reading out loud what you didn't fix.
Oh, you know what's even worse is, so I'm using like a tablet and I'm writing and it's converting it to text, and it's like it keeps converting it to the wrong thing, and I'm like, no, this isn't what I mean. I was like, oh shit, I don't have time to go back.
Whose name is it?
I tried to write pull, not penis.
I think Logan's next. And real quick, Matt, I also wanted to note that I like how either your story was written by somebody that's drunk or was read by somebody who was drunk. I couldn't really tell which.
It was read by someone who's drunk. We had a whole show after this, before this.
But yeah, you're next, Logan, whenever you're ready.
Okay. I mean, I didn't quite get done here, but
you finished 30 seconds early.
Yeah, that's because I quit.
He said I threw in the towel. Hey, nothing wrong with knowing when you've been bested.
I didn't have any more brain capacity, and I just didn't have any more brain capacity. All right.
You've been using it all up on those other 23 stories.
Probably. It's all, man, I keep getting sucked into the 23 stories. It's not 23 of them.
I had 28, sorry.
Jesus, dude.
There it is. Logan walked into the abandoned warehouse.
I did. All right, let's blinding white light shone through the scummy skylights and cast scattered beams upon the glossy cement. Tattered stains of oil and gas made dark shapes over it all. Sarah stood under the faint illumination, shaking and wringing her hands in anxiety. The cops could be watching. They know I'm here. They're always watching. Tap, tap, tap. The familiar sound of heeled shoes strode toward Sarah. A woman dressed in all black with black hair and silvery bangs emerged from the darkness into the false light, but stood just at the edge of obscurity. Sarah Whalen? The woman rasped. The woman struck a match, and a flame burnt low and slow, igniting the woman's cigarette to a wisp of smoke. Yes, Sarah replied. You're the reporter. Yes? I am, the woman replied. But I need to be sure you're legit. Please, Sarah pleaded. It's my husband, they have him. Who has him? Sarah saw figments flicker in the shadows, and she pointed a shivering hand. They're here. Please help me. That's all I have.
It's amazing to me how
Jesus Christ.
anything you write, it's like poetry in a sense, like the way you can like describe things and what's
even though your audio was sounding like it was being chopped by a wood axe, it just fucking sounded good.
What's most amazing about it is it's all like, this isn't a well thought out story. Like, this is, you got 5 minutes and you're rushing through it, and so this is just what's pouring out out of you, and so it's obvious that it's at some point it's got to be, through practice, through honing your craft. And it's to me it's very obvious that you have written a lot. Like, it's not, because like, to me, I feel like what I write is a guy that has like a good idea and can kind of put ideas out there, but they just don't have that sort of polish and just, I don't know, that descriptiveness that you have. Like, it comes out and it sounds so good. You're able to describe things in such an intricate way. It's really pleasant just to listen to it.
So it sounds kind of stupid, but I was a younger guy and started reading Alan Watts, who's a philosopher, and he basically said that reality isn't real because nobody can define it. And for instance, if you say to somebody, the sky is blue, and they argue the sky is green, you have different realities. So reality becomes a definition of terms. Like, if it can't be put into words, then it's not real. And for whatever reason, that just like fucked my head up. And I was like, I need to know all the words.
Yeah, but to me also that could also mean a limitation of just the language that you're speaking as well, because certain languages are able to kind of go into more detail when speaking of certain things, and then others go less into it. So
right on.
It could
right
just,
on, and like, if for like Japanese or Chinese, one
Dirty
symbol
knees.
means a specific
Look at that.
thing. Yeah, it's all cool. It's all sweet. I just love words, man.
So what it sounds like is you're struggling to know all the words of English, and then once you're done with that, you got to fucking reach around to Cantonese and French and everything else you can grab. You got a long road ahead of you, Logan. He's gonna be describing things in 5 different languages just to get a point across, and nobody will get it. But
Matt, I
you'll
already
know.
had to flex Latin in the last book. That sucks.
Yes, you did.
Ugh.
All right. Well, we're on to Emily. It's your turn whenever you're ready, Emily.
Okay, so it might be like a little choppy because I'm gonna be trying to. I went back and I did try to fix some of the like text conversion errors because I knew that I wasn't gonna be able to read it if it was as bad as it was. But I'll do my best.
I got a bunch of red lines under my words.
Okay, well this didn't even do red lines. It thought it knew what I was trying to say.
I got
and
you.
just
So yeah, that would have been like, at least I can notice my words that are wrong. Like, it would have been harder for you to realize what was wrong with yours. I got you.
Okay. So, what are you doing? Camellia ran over, trying not to trip on the litter that covered the concrete floor of the rusted warehouse. I'm looking for something. Anything to end this case, Felix replied. Well, I don't know what you expect to find in this place. There is bad energy everywhere. It gives me the willies just to be in here. Can't we just go home and see what we can find online? I'll give you a back rub. Amelia came over to Felix and put a hand on her chest. Felix wandered over She seemed to follow. Felix wondered about her. She seemed to follow Felix around too much and ask too many questions. She was a great lay, but she didn't really want much more to do with her. She had no idea how someone like her even made it on the police force. If it wasn't for her inside information, Felix would ditch her in a heartbeat. She needed a good story now more than ever, if he ever wanted to become published. She looked at her with doe eyes, and she tried not to roll her eyes. This warehouse was the scene of a major shootout resulting in the death of 3 officers. There were too many variables that didn't add up, and Camellia was her only way in.
Well,
That's all I have.
I think I and I alone can say this because I know my story. I think that's definitely going to be the winner there. Like I think, like I said before, Logan's words are like poetry, the way he's able to describe things. But I liked your story a lot better. Like I think you had there was a lot of personality and character in it. I felt like. What do you think, Logan? Well, I'm gonna assume by his lack of voice, he agrees with me. Matt.
Oh, Matt's just now finally coming back.
I know. Like I'm very upset because that was really good. I really liked that a lot. Did you hear Emily's full story?
Well, thank you.
Yes, I did.
The bullshit. Your headphones were off.
She's in the same house as me.
Okay, fair enough. What'd you think about her story?
It's not as good as mine. But
Yeah.
no, it was. No, I'm just kidding.
If Matt says it's not as good as yours, that means it's the best story he's ever heard. Because he's a fucking liar.
All right, go ahead, Tom, with yours.
Well, I want to. That is. I can definitely say by just reading, just knowing what mine already says, like that's definitely more interesting. You created a story that's out of everything I've heard so far that I'm interested in hearing more about, which I think is really the key point that you want to come across, like whether like if it sounds like poetry like Logan's is, where he's able to just pour out these words and it just sounds amazing, or like Matt, or who can usually get a good point across. Like I felt like you hit a good solid middle ground where it hits all the points, and like it became a story that I definitely was more interested in hearing more of than anything I've heard so far, or anything that I'm about to read.
Well, thank you. Well, I will say that I did forget, like when I started writing it, that the second character was supposed to be a female, so I wrote everything in the masculine, and then I had to go back and fix it to turn it to the feminine.
I did notice that, but I mean, those are like little small things that I don't think really will.
Do me a favor and read it again, real quick. I want to re-listen to it.
Okay.
Yeah, read it again because I was dropping a deuce.
Okay.
This second time you read it, I'm gonna say that I hated it. By the way, no, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Go ahead.
What are you doing? Camellia ran over, trying not to trip over the litter that covered the concrete floor of the rusted warehouse. I'm looking for something, anything to end this case, Felix replied. Well, I don't know where you expect to find anything in this place. There's bad energy everywhere. It gives me the willies just being in here. Can't we just go home and see if we can find any information online? I'll give you a back rub. Camellia came over to Felix and put a hand on her chest. Felix wondered about her. She seemed to follow her around too much and ask way too many questions. She was a great lay, but that didn't mean she wanted much more to do with her. She had no idea how someone like her even made it on the police force. If it wasn't for her inside information, Phila would ditch her in a heartbeat. She needed a good story now more than ever if she wanted to become published.
Yeah, so I think sorry. No, are you done?
No.
No, I'm sorry. keep going. I'm so sorry. Keep going.
She looked at her with doe eyes, and she tried not to roll her eyes. This warehouse was the scene of a major shootout resulting in the death of 3 officers. There were just way too many variables that didn't add up, and Camellia was her only way in.
So,
there you go.
What I was gonna say is, I think what's interesting is definitely like how the one guy's like, she's a good lay, and then Matt laughed at that as well. What?
You told a great story primarily through dialogue.
Yeah.
And that's That's what's great about it.
Which
So
I think is tougher doing when you're doing this sort of thing, is because there was a lot of dialogue at the beginning of mine. I'm like, I gotta quit doing that. That's making this way longer than it needs to be. It's so hard to get the story in just dialogue alone.
and like making dialogue that doesn't make it seem clunky, or info dumping.
Yeah.
Like not a Gandalf. It's
That was
all
fluid as hell in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
yeah. It was a trade for trade, and that's the kind of dialogue I like. I don't like Gandalf type dialogue who just drops a bunch of fucking shit right there on Frodo's lap.
Yeah, I know.
recall the Misty Mountain.
There was
Yeah.
there was this book that I was listening to somewhat recently about how to write dialogue and different things, and that was one of the things he was talking about, is how you'd write your dialogue and you'd go through and you could clean it up, take certain words out of it just to hit it more to the point, make it more interesting and stuff like that. And I think like you were almost naturally able to do. I mean, there's definitely, this is like a first 5 minutes of writing a story. You could probably go through and clean some of it up, but you definitely was able to make it very clean and neat just from like that first quick 5 minutes of writing it. So, which I mean, that just shows a skill. I don't know how much you write, but I think it just shows your
Thank you.
your education. Like you're a very educated woman, so I think that plays a big part all the time that you went through school and everything. I think that helps you be able to write something like this a lot cleaner and neater than
I don't really write a whole lot, but I read a lot.
Yeah, I imagine that would help a lot too.
More so comics now, just because I have a problem when it comes to books.
Yeah.
Where I just don't.
The
like, if I
series
get
just
stuck-
ends. Joe Abercrombie, finish your fucking last book, asshole.
Well,
Um,
see, for me, like if I get into a good book, like I literally like eat, sleep, breathe that book until I'm finished.
Yeah.
And like I read
the same
fairly
way.
quickly anyway.
Once you get married.
Like I'm a fairly fast reader, but like I'll easily demolish a book a day.
But
Like
that-
I can do that.
And that's something a lot of people don't understand, is just not only writing it's not just something you have natural talent to, like somebody like Logan. I don't think Logan's naturally talented in writing. What I think, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Logan, I think what Logan has is this overwhelming interest in it that allows him to be obsessive and continue to write. And then somebody like you who just really enjoys reading, you're able to go through and you're just you can become obsessive about reading and stuff like that. And because you're able to read so much, you just get so much better at it. And it just snowballs into a point where like you're just able to read a book in a day. And like you said, you read a lot of comics. And comics are mostly dialogue. So it makes sense that a lot of that was dialogue. And not only was it dialogue, it was able to really get through the story in nothing but dialogue for the most part. And it was you felt a lot of personality or a lot of character development within the characters and stuff like that. And it felt really good. Like I can't think of necessarily a bad thing to say about it. I think my first the worst thing I can say about it is that, what was the first line of it?
What are you doing? Camellia ran over.
That's my only complaint, is every time you started reading, you would say, "What are you doing?" And I thought you were talking to one of us. That's the worst thing I could say, is I thought you were talking to somebody every time you started reading it.
What are you doing? Then we would have known.
Then would have known it wasn't for us.
It's like, but I don't see why I would need to pitch my voice into a female voice, considering the fact I'm already female.
See, God damn it, she's right again.
Screwing with you.
But all right, let me go ahead and read my story. I don't want to read it at this point, but here we go. Mary walked through the warehouse doing her rounds. The empty building creaked and moaned as she passed through. Off in the distance, she heard the pattering of footsteps, and she raced over. She hurried past a large machine and grabbed someone by the arm. A lady turned around and screamed. "What are you doing here?" Mary asked. I'm a reporter," the older woman replied. Mary thought for a second. This lady wasn't supposed to be here, and she reached for her radio. "No, please, I can explain," the lady started. "My name is Ashley. I work for the local news. I'm investigating a story that led me here." Mary looked at her, puzzled. "Why would you be here?" she asked the woman. From the information that I have, God, Jesus Christ. From the information that I have, police have been murdering drug dealers and dumping their bodies here so that they can be dissolved in the vats of acid on site. Mary thought long and hard and decided to help this woman. After hours of searching, they found nothing. Suddenly, Ashley spoke up. Here it is. She found a piece of paper, and Mary couldn't see what it said, and she ran off into the night. That's got to be the worst story I've written so far. Like, I'm reading it, and like, this is fucking, like, I'm like, what? And then I'm like, oh no, I wrote that.
What is happening?
It's so terrible. I was just struggling and rushing through to get through the story. And again, that's another cool thing about doing this is you can see multiple people doing the same thing. And like, number one, you're like, how can this story be any different than the story I'm crafting? And then you see how varied it can be. And then on top of that, you're like, how can somebody get through this story in 5 minutes and make it cohesive and seem like it's complete? And then you see other people do it. They do it better. And so you just, it's possible. And it all comes down to, like, this is a total, I think, skill-based sort of exercise.
This is how well your brain can click with story elements. I think Emily and Logan nailed it.
I'll say Logan nailed it. My only issue with Logan's is, like I said, like his words are like poetry, but I got lost in the words. So it kind of became too complicated for what I guess I was expecting for something like this. So I was never able to figure out what exactly is happening. With Emily's, I knew it. And it's just, and again, it comes down to like style as well. Where Emily's was able to kind of get to the point without feeling like it's rushing to the point and being point to point. And Logan's was more flowy and felt good and sounded well as it got there. Mm-hmm. But by the end of it, I'm just kind of like lost in a trance, like what exactly transpired in those past couple minutes.
Yeah, like mine was more focused on the reporter woman. The reporter aspect. Yeah, the someone who was excitable to their job, isn't afraid to get involved type of woman.
I never hit the love story part at all.
I didn't either.
I had an answer to that I realized afterwards, but I just, it's too late. I thought about cheating and writing it, but I didn't, because I'm a good person.
Logan, what'd you think?
I really enjoyed Emily's. I thought she did a great job. I think that her economy of words is pretty fluid, pretty easy to take in.
Yeah, it's a fucking and good sentence right there.
Yeah, she does a really great, and her head dialogue is probably on point. I mean, to get it to come out as fluid as she does, that's well done. That's good shit.
Like I can only imagine, like, if you, and it, I mean, honestly, it could make it actually worse. But like to write something, like say Matt had wrote a book. Say you write a book, and then you go through and you have to kind of scrutinize through it to get through and clean it up as you go. I can only imagine I can only imagine how clean and neat and like how fucking like compact and polished that could be. But at the same time, you could over polish it as well. But I think like, yeah, that was good. And like, even like, and I know you did a lot of editing with Matt's book. I don't think I necessarily, with the first 5 chapters I read, like I had some issues with it that I talked to Matt about, but I don't think I necessarily had any issues with dialogue or anything like that. And I always feel like dialogue is the most important thing. It's my favorite thing about writing, but I also feel like it's the thing that people fuck up on the most.
I like to consider myself strong in dialogue. I think most of my dialogue, as Logan would put it, would snap. And I think I can do that naturally, but it's the building is my problem. It's the world building or the descriptions.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe not world building, but getting the world building across within the story.
Yeah,
because your world building is great. It's just maybe getting that. I don't know, but I mean, maybe getting that into the story. That's a tricky fucking game to play. I feel
especially when you try not to do like info dumps.
Yeah, exactly. So,
or giving out.
It was really tough going from writing what is sort of like a medieval period fantasy to writing something modern. So the flowery language, if you're writing a detective or like a pulp novel or something like that, you're going to shy away from some of that flowery language. And I think that's the key is that with Emily's story, she moved away from that, and it had a modern, common feel to it that people can relate to, and that's what they were expecting when you've got like a detective story.
Yeah, in a warehouse and stuff.
Yep. So if there's a winner, it's Emily. Having said that, my issue is that there was no love in her story, just lust.
That is a good point. That is a good point.
Well, it is only the beginning of a story.
Well,
you gotta hit. You gotta hit.
Story to base it on.
Yeah.
Now, the argument could be made for Emily that it was lust on one side, but love on the other side. But I don't think we hit that point enough to confirm that.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone.
Was better.
I don't think
it's still the best one.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you.
I don't think anyone hit the points necessarily. I don't think everyone hit.
I will say, to kind of piggyback off what Logan said, like with the flowery language and the different like time periods and stuff like that. Like whenever I listened to Logan talking, it kind of like the imagery that I'd get in my head was like it reminded me of like Edgar Allan Poe, like being in like an old castle or something like that, like because you were talking about torches, I think, at some point and stuff like that. So it kind of just gave me that sort of imagery. Where Emily's, it brought me to what I had already pictured from reading the prompt. That it brought me to where I pictured, which is, both of those things are good. Emily was able to kind of make me picture what I had already envisioned, and yours was able to make me picture something else. So those are very great things to have happen. It just, at the same time, when it comes to who won here, it's definitely Emily.
And the thing of it is that, as not to be a complete douche or knob, when she's reading it, I'm thinking about how I would read it.
She needs to be knocked down a notch or two.
Yeah, we've lifted her up way too much.
How I would read it, and I just liked it more. But that's probably because I smoke my own pole.
I get what you're saying. Like, you like your own voice.
Well, not even that. Just like when I was reading it, I was like, if she got like that pulp feel to that voice, where it's like, just curt, quick, and she was already.
Yeah.
I felt like she was already doing that.
Well, whenever I say your own voice, I don't mean like necessarily the way your voice sounds, but the voice you would have in reading it.
Yes, and that's just me.
That's kind of an interesting thing to bring up, though, that people don't think about. And I think that's why books are better than movies, is because whenever you read a book, you read it in your own voice versus, and everybody has their own vision of what a movie or book or what a book will be. And then once you see it on the screen, it's always different because it's from that person's voice, that person's viewpoint. So it's always going to kind of be different. So I think that's kind of an interesting point. And it's a good point for people to realize, I think, when they're looking at movies that are based off books, to understand that this is the vision of the person that read the book, not necessarily your vision. Nobody's ever going to always be happy. You just got to be happy that book that you wanted to see, you get to see.
And, the thing of it is that most of that comes down to, if you dig into audiobooks and you like narration, I find a reason to do that, like to narrate or whatever I can. So like I started The Hobbit with my daughter. We got that done, and now we're on to Harry Potter 1. And I'm sitting there doing all the voices because that gets her involved.
Yeah.
That she loves that. And man, I tell you what, like if narrating a book, The Hobbit is so much fun. And the most recent audiobook they released with Andy Serkis narrating.
Yeah, that's really good.
Oh man, it is good.
But that is also kind of the other side of the coin, is when you have certain people, like professional voice actors and professional actors in general with great voices, they're going to breathe a lot of life into that story that you couldn't have done in your own head. Like whenever I listen to I've listened to, what is the first Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Rings, I listen to that. that guy, whoever, I can't remember who it was. I think it was the guy that played Saruman. I could be wrong, but he did a great job of it. Like he was able
Christopher
to.
Lee.
Yeah, I think it was him. I could be wrong, but he was able to breathe a lot of life into the characters and stuff that I wouldn't have been able to do in my own head. And so he was able to make the story better than I could have. And so that's kind of like it's weird, like audiobooks versus read them yourself. I think read them yourself is
Right.
90%, the best way to go. But there is those times where it's definitely going to be better to have it read to you by somebody who's better at doing it than you are.
Oh man, I tell you, for Joe Abercrombie's work, it's
Oh, ho, ho, ho.
Pacey, and
It is-
Pacey,
it is
in my
Pacey.
opinion, is the best. Man,
You
he's
know,
Dude,
for me, it is I have, I guess, a little bit of a different opinion, and it's just, because of my particular reading style. Is like I don't mind audiobooks, but I prefer, like, again, I'm a fairly fast reader when I have time to do it, and I'm not trying to like critique it. Like it took me a while to get through Mats just because I'm trying to critique it and break things down. But like for
took a
pleasure
while
reading,
because I'm shit. Go ahead.
no, I was going through it page by page, sentence by sentence, and trying to connect everything. There's a lot more that I was trying to do mentally for it. But like when I'm just reading for pleasure, I can go a lot faster, and for me with audiobooks, like I enjoy it, but I prefer reading it myself. I feel like I can kind of like absorb the information faster than listening to it. And that's one of the reasons like I started Lord of the Rings, but like me and Matt were listening to it together. But I feel like I would have preferred to actually just sit down and read it.
Yeah,
And that's just, a personal preference, but
I will say, even though I was kind of tooting the horn of the guy that read Lord of the Rings, it was very, and I think it's just the story itself, and Matt's going to hate this. It's fucking boring and dull. It's so slow at times. It's not bad. It's just so slow and grinding.
You have to be interested in the culture going around, like, because like the first 5 pages are nothing but like the Hobbits' culture
Yeah.
and everything that. So and
It's
you have
just
to
like
understand.
it's the meme of the walking meme from the movies. It's just you get to hear that in the book. It's there,
Yeah.
and so I wanna read it at some point. Because I love the Hobbit, and I love I love Tolkien for what he's done for the fantasy genre, and I want to pay homage and read his stories. I don't know if I can. God, there was something else I was wanting to say off what piggyback off what Emily had said, but I can't remember. But I think unless anybody has any other second thoughts, third thoughts, or fourth thoughts, I think that could be it for tonight. I think
That could be it.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
I think we did a good job. Like this actually went by a lot quicker than I thought it'd be. I think we had a lot of good conversations. I enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I would. And I hate, I'm not trying to toot anybody's horns here, but I think a lot of it came from, I think Emily's story was really good. So it's nice to find a little gem when you do these sort of things. So I think it went really well. I think that's the best part about doing this is it seems like always something surprises us, especially when you have somebody new come in. Like the first time we had Logan there, it fucking blew my fucking mind. When we had Sean, every time we have somebody new in here, it surprises you how varied these stories can be and how great, people that don't even read or that don't necessarily even write. Like when we had Nick and Trey, we never posted the video, but when we had Nick and Trey on here, it just blew my mind at how like everybody has the ability to write a story within them. A lot of people just don't do it. Like me, I don't fucking do it. But everybody has it in there. I think human beings are natural storytellers. That's one of our main goals. We're just busy doing other things nowadays. So it's interesting to have somebody come in, especially somebody like Emily or Logan, who are seasoned in reading and writing, and they can really craft a story and just articulate it in a way that just can resonate real easily. Like Emily's story just hit everybody here, and I think it's the gem of doing this show.
Absolutely, is having the person come in and knock your socks off. Like Pat. I'm pretty sure it was Pat. Man, he just came out swinging with the one story he had. He was talking about, like Nazi fuckers and all this stuff. Yeah, so it's just cool to see people come out swinging and put their best foot forward. Yeah, I love it. This is my favorite show.
And my favorite part is how me and Matt are the guys that do this the most, and I think hands down we lose majority of them.
Yeah.
Like, I think we're always bottom two, and so it's definitely eventually we'll do this 1,000 times and finally be better than you guys, but. But yeah, I think there's a lot of aspects that go into doing something like this when you have the 5 minutes and the random prompt and stuff, and it really I think especially like somebody like me and Matt, like we're kind of like we've done this before, we can just kind of power through it, but like new people coming into it, they really, and I could be wrong, but I feel like they not necessarily they have something to prove, but they really want to try to do well, and so that helps give them that extra motivation to really try to produce something well, and I think it gets those energies and juices flowing a little bit harder than somebody like me and Matt, and it's fun, man. It's fun getting to hear those neat little stories. And like I said, like I would love to hear more of Emily's story. It's fucking it's cool, man. I really like doing this.
Yeah, no, this is doing the take your shot is probably one of the best ideas that we had for the show. And I think if more writers came on, like say like we had Logan, Emily, and Sean and Pat come on, this show could easily go 4 hours
Oh
because
God, yeah.
just from talking about each other's stories, and
Yeah.
it'd just be great.
And I think it's a very niche thing. Like writers that are really involved, like writers that would want to be on the show, are the kind of people that would listen to this show. And I think that'd be cool. Like I'd love to get more writers listening in and be like, "You guys fucking suck. Here's what I would do better with that story," or just having in the comments like they would have their short stories that they wrote and we could read their short stories. That'd be great. But
we
you
can
know,
shit on that. We can shit on them.
yeah, there we go. We'll have a writer's craft episode where it's nothing but comments that we read. But maybe one day we'll be able to get there. But for now, this is what it is, and I enjoyed it. So I think that's good enough.
All right, so anybody got anything to share? Any
It was
news?
a pleasure. It was a pleasure as always.
Well, I will say from a new person's perspective coming into this, and I don't know if anybody else felt like this, but like I feel like anytime that like I've done this, which is similar to the things that we've done on the Writers Accord, was that anytime I write something, I always feel like it's crap.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people feel like that. So it's just like I was like, oh, this sucks. It's like,
It
well,
just depends on what you can get done and
Yeah.
the time allotted.
What I like to say is
Yeah.
this is you're shotgunning a story is what you're doing, which is the original idea of this show. It was going to be shotgun a beer and then do a story. That's a little rough, but you're shotgunning out a story, and it's it really I think it really it shows the ability of different writers, and it shows a lot of how other people write. Like Matt would do a lot of plot point. It shows a lot of things that I think writers may not even know about themselves. Like Matt, he's not a plot to plot kind of writer, but that's how he would write his stuff. And like I'm sure everybody learns a little bit about themselves when they're forced to crunch it out there. And also it makes you write, which a lot of people that's the hardest part of writing every day is like a lot of people say is just sit down and write a paragraph a day. You do this and you have to write a small short story. You get that paragraph in, and then maybe that can blossom into you're like, okay, since I'm already kind of in the field, let me go move on to actually writing some of my stuff. So it doesn't work for me, but I think I think it's a really cool concept. I'm really glad I was able to come up with it, and so far everybody, especially the new people that come in, really seem to enjoy it. So if nothing else, at the end of the day, this is fun. And I think that's what's most important.
So just to remind everybody who's coming in late or maybe watch this video later, May 1st, we will have Sean, the author of The Slave Trade, and Pat, who has not published anything yet or self-published, will be here May 1st to talk about their comedy. I believe, one second. Let me.
The Slave Trade: Rise of Justice by Sean Shank. That's him right there.
May 22nd, we are planning on doing the Helping Hands fundraiser. That is where I'll set the dollar amount later on, but once we raise enough money, I'll eat a Carolina Reaper.
You
How
should
about-
call it Spice for Nice.
A spice for
Spice-
nice. I like that. That's
Spice
good.
for nice. That's what we'll call it. Spice for nice.
Yeah, I gotta
Um,
write that down somewhere. I may eat one because, like I said, at the end of that, once it was all said and done with, there's a bit of exhilaration you get afterwards. You're like,
Yeah, you
man,
get- you
it's
get-
like
you
it's like a
get
roller
kinda
coaster.
behind.
Like,
You should eat, the whole thing this time.
shut up, man! I take your story was shit. I hated it. I thought it was terrible. I didn't like anything you said. No, fuck off, man. Matt said that was the most he's ever eaten of a Carolina Reaper. It was my first time. All right, I'm inexperienced.
Yeah.
So
We
No,
anyway,
it's okay. Did Matt tell you that I managed to get like the juice from it on me when I was
oh
working
yeah,
in the
yeah,
meeting?
yeah. He had mentioned that you had like touched his desk or something and got something on you. Now, that's terrible.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but yeah. So I will say, like, after it's like whenever you approach a roller coaster, you're like, I don't want to do that. Then afterwards, you're like, that was great. I want to do it again. And that's kind of what happened. Like, so I kind of want to do it again. I'm still kind of fearful. Any type of person that within like a 3 or 4 hour period that'll eat 6 of them is fucking stupid. Outside of that, I may be able to squeeze in at least one during the next stream, but I'll have to get one. I don't know how I'll go about doing that. Well, we can talk off stream about that.
Yeah.
If I ate a Carolina Reaper, I'd be sweating from fear.
Oh, yes, you will. You will. It is
Yeah.
terrible.
Like, I would just stink.
I think have you workshopped anything for that video yet? I know the camera was fucked up, but
No, I was gonna show it as a promotion.
okay.
For when we do the helping. Anyway, May 22nd, I'm planning on doing a stream, charity stream for Helping Hands here in Aiken, who is a foster care
Nonprofit.
nonprofit organization, who deals with foster kids here in Aiken. So I want to raise money for them, and I thought if I can raise $1,000 for my shitty book, I can raise a little bit more for some kids by eating Carolina Reapers. So that's what we're gonna do, May 22nd.
So the pressure's really on you guys, not on us.
Yeah, you pay us, and then I'll eat Carolina Reapers and give it to foster kids. So-
Another one, Spice for Nice. Another good one is Pain for Pleasure. Well, I guess fuck it. I guess pleasure's not the right word.
No, it's not. It's not the right word.
Pain for
Especially when you're talking about kids. Please
that's.
don't.
I didn't want to be the one to bring it up. As soon as I said it, I realized it, and I didn't want to say it. Thanks for saying it. Pain for happiness.
Spice.
Yeah, let's just stick with
nice-
Spice for Nice.
now.
Spice for Nice.
for
Will
Nice.
be what we do. But yeah, I think that's it for tonight. Thank you, Emily, and thank you, Logan, for coming and doing this with us. It's been great fun, and we'll definitely probably be doing this with you guys again for sure. And
real quick.
Well-
Real quick. Logan, would you like to come on for Spice for Nice?
I mean, I'm probably gonna try to donate some money at least and some stuff. How much? Wait, hold on, because I need to know this. How much does it cost for you to eat a Carolina Reaper?
I think I think it was 200 last time, so it's a hefty amount.
I'm gonna.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm gonna.
But it's not 200 for one
Yes.
person. It's not.
I got some news for you. One of you guys is gonna be eating a whole hell of a lot of Reapers.
He
if I
said-
start promoting
He
them.
said I got a stimulus check, baby. No,
And if-
Yeah.
but it's not 200.
Is that Biden money?
It's not one person gives 200. It's not 200. One person gives 200 for one Reaper. It's once it gets to a certain threshold, 200, 400, 600 Reapers eaten on every one of them. But again, he hasn't set the price point. I think 200's way too fucking low.
I'm honestly, what I might do. Okay, hold on. What date was it? Say it one more time.
May 22nd, I believe.
And that's, I always say that's tentative,
You know what I'm gonna do?
right?
I think I'm gonna tell all my pool customers about it, and then I'm gonna discount their prices
Oh,
by like $5,
Yeah.
so that they have to donate $5.
okay, yeah, fair
I'm
enough.
gonna be like, you have to get on. You have to donate $5. You must do this. Yeah, I'll promote the shit out of this. All right.
Okay,
Okay.
cool, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
No, man,
Like,
it goes to kids.
yeah, exactly. I was about to say, like, This isn't for any promotion or anything. This is just for the Helping Hands organization here in Aiken. So
Yeah, I think if we just get $200, that's worth the time spent. I mean, if we get
Yeah.
if we get
Both of
fucking
you
$5,
turn purple.
I'll eat one. I'll eat at least one. I'll just have to get me one. It's fucking terrible, man. I'm gonna regret it immediately.
I don't know if you could pay me enough money.
It's tough,
We're-
man.
we'll put the promotional video up. I ate all the seeds of a Carolina Reaper and I fucking vomited
Yeah.
out my organs. So we'll put that promotional video up when it gets closer to the date. But yeah, Helping Hands could use some donations. So if anybody who's listening, anyone, if you can spare, $5.
$2,
every-
$1. We'll take it all. We'll take
Yeah,
every bit of dollars you give us for the
so
kids.
every $200, I'll eat a Carolina Reaper. So,
If you can, if you find time, just a like a promotional poster for my benefit would be sweet. Just
I can try to get something going.
something simple, nothing crazy. It doesn't need to be wild. It just needs to say. "Thank
Yeah,
you."
all the
Thank
details.
Yes.
mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's gonna get shared. Oh yeah. I tell you what. man,
Once me
purple.
once me and Matt comes up with the details, I'll try to make sure I work on something for it.
Yeah.
I
So
rarely
we'll
get this excited.
we'll work it all out, and anybody who's ever been a guest on the Roughcraft can join. And
I think
new
that's
guy.
how we should do it. We should let it be like kind of like an open chat and have all our friends and family, anybody they're willing to come in, like, anybody that's been on the show before, they can pop in and talk and hang out. Just be like a big hang session while we're just maybe playing video games, doing like we did last time. We don't have to
Right.
have a dedicated cast like we did last time. Just people can pop in while we're playing games and do whatever.
yeah, we're just trying to raise money for our organization. So, anyway, it's about 10:30, so we probably should end it. So, I want to
We
thank everyone. I want to thank everyone for joining us. Emily, Logan,
Roger.
y'all are great.
Yep, thanks for having us.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having us. But all right, guys, that's been the Rough Craft, the show dedicated to creating new stories while enjoying tasty beers. We like to make rough crafts while drinking good crafts. This has been the Rough Craft. Have a good night. We'll talk to you guys again at a later date and time. Thank you.